Welcome to Watercolor and Wonder. Today in our nature study series of invertebrates, following Ambleside Online's schedule, we're going to be documenting a daddy longlegs or a grandfather graybeard. These are again a really common specimen or creature that we've seen a lot, and so we're going to be taking some careful and close observations as we enter this into our journal. This is a more simple drawing than we have done in the last few, so we should be able to pay really close attention and get some of these details really nailed down. Thanks for joining me, and let's get painting.
Okay, so for the granddaddy longlegs, I'm going to do two drawings because it's one just to show the general shape, there's not a lot to paint, and then one of a close-up to get the details of the body. So we're going to start with just the general shape. And you can see mine, as we learned, granddaddies are able to grow their legs back. This one in particular, we found missing one leg if you count. We've only got 7 here to document today. So just pay attention. I'm just quickly sketching, and for the legs I'm going to be using a pen because there's such fine detail. So hopefully you have one of these in person to observe. They're fairly common. I know there's a lot of varieties of them, so yours might be different colors than mine. I'm actually gonna make this slightly smaller now that I've sketched it out. I want to try to get the body more in proportion to the length that I've made the legs. For this painting, I'm going to do these in 2 separate, just this one, and then we'll sketch the second one. I'm just going to be mixing up black, and then you can tell, I can see the body of mine is slightly got a reddish brown tint, so I'm going to mix just a little bit of this up with my black, so I have a black that's just a little tint, which we'll be able to see more clearly in the close-up. And then we'll switch. I'm going to let it dry, and then I'm going to use my pen to finish the legs, because it's just such a fine thing. It's easier to do than with a paintbrush. That's all I'm going to do for that painting. Pretty simple and straightforward. We'll let it dry. I'm using a Prismacolor. They come in various sizes. I'm using my smallest pen because this is just such fine detail work today. And then you'll see that just traced in over my pencil in our next image, and then we're going to sketch out the close-up of the body. Okay, so we finished, so we have the basic shape of our granddaddy longlegs, and now I'm going to just zoom in. I'm just going to do a close-up of the body so we can really see the detail of the same view. Perhaps you could choose a different view, a side view. There's a lot of options on how you could document this. But I'm just going to do a really enlarged view. So we're going to get our basic shape here. And I guess I should say really enlarged. We should make it really enlarged, right? Like I still am thinking in terms of a small thing. So let's go ahead and make this a bit bigger. I'm just really trying to pay attention to what the shape is, not what I think the shape should be, because when we first glance at this, you know, we think it's just a basic oval, right? But then I get in here and I see this joint has 3 different colors, like a red, a cream, and black. And it's up to you on how much you want to carry out the details, like how far out. If you want to do a full scale, full page with the legs, you can. I'm just going to be doing the body since we have the general idea of the legs there. I'm just going to sketch these in. And once I sketch it, then I like to take a step back and just look and see, like, did I represent it accurately and to scale? And sometimes I need to go back and change a few things if I didn't quite get it. I think of especially shapes like this, like a clock. That helps me to keep on track. And so if I'm drawing, this leg should be at 6 o'clock on a clock because it's at the bottom. And as long as by the time I get to this leg I'm at 6, I've got things going basically where they should be going. That's just an easy way, especially when you can start working, like flowers, I think of that. If you start working your way around with petals and all of a sudden you get halfway around and you've drawn all the petals on your flower, you've kind of gone off of what you intended to do. Okay, and then we have right here that. So let's get to painting now. Again, I mentioned earlier, it's kind of like a reddish, my particular one is a little bit of a reddish brown in color, and so I have this shade. It's not quite as red as I would like, so I'm even going to add a little of a maroon. You can see that's the shade I'm going to add to it, just to try to get that more so. And from there, I think I might even need to darken it with a little bit of a darker brown too. And then we'll just have some dark brown over here to add some shade. I've still got my black that I'm going to use, and then I'm going to need a very light tan or gray. You can probably go with either because the details are so small for that cream, the cream colors right here and over here. And again, I don't need to mix up a lot of paint because it even enlarged this to this scale, it's not a lot to paint. So I think that that color looks about right. And I'm going to go ahead, and I like to start on the outline and then come back and fill in. Make sure to go back and get paint if you starts to get watered down and not be as bold of a color as you really want it to be. Sometimes that could be achieved through more paint or through multiple layers. You can see my body back here has like this bulge. Filling that in. And then while this one is wet, I am going to add some of this brown black mixture from earlier to let that blend naturally together as it dries to shade. And then even add some black back here where the shadows are darker. If you do that while it's wet, it will just feather in really naturally without any lines. Sometimes you want lines, which I do want to add. You can see there's kind of like bands going across, which we're going to add in the second layer. I'm going to darken up my paint a little bit. It got a little watered down for what I want, and so I'm going to just add some more pigment and then add that back in here. Because I really don't want this color to bleed into the legs at all. The legs don't have any red tone to them. I am going to let this dry completely before I begin the legs. So that will be our next step. And you can jump to that stage next. Now we're going to begin our legs, just the beginnings of them, the indications, the joints where they attach to the body. I'm going to use mostly black for those. We've got these little cylinder shapes. A lot of water there. Painting is really just painting shapes. You can see the shape or the shape between things. You can generally paint it. And if you want to go ahead and paint that part out, there's no reason not to, since if that bleeds together, it matches, so it doesn't affect your painting. Yeah. Just following our sketch. I think about the direction the legs are coming out. They don't necessarily follow the direction of this part right here. They go and can turn like that. I'm looking at the space between. These really don't have any space between it, just the body. So we don't want to leave any space there. The last one for mine, since he or she is only 7-legged, you will likely have more than that. And then I'm also going to go ahead and paint in this. We'll leave the eyes are on there. If we had a microscope that could see it. While those are drying, I'm also going to go and add a little brown to indicate the circular or cylindrical shape. I had a hair stuck to my brush and a fuzz. I just suggest adding a little bit of brown here. But this is not black. I'm not going to do this part yet because I don't want this black to bleed into here. But I am going to paint this because it doesn't touch anything that's wet. And the same, just do a little bit there. All right, and then now we can go in, and I can see a few bands coming across the body, and this will give us the shape if we just bring big C shapes of the same color, but it will be darker. We're adding a layer. And that will show us that this body curves. And it's just simple lines. I'm going to add in some more shadows back here. And then the last thing we're going to do is just even a lighter brown than what I already had. Just a little touch right through there and right here to show that there is a shape there. Since we're painting on white paper, I need to show that there is a shape by a little bit of shadow. Okay, the very last thing we're going to do is I'm going to use a little bit of gouache, and that's going to add the highlights or anything that's reflective. So if I look, I see there's a few reflective spots on these legs. And again, when we use a gouache, this is going to be an opaque paint. And so we want it in like a toothpaste consistency so that it stays opaque and doesn't become transparent. I'm going to add a little water through there and just get that worked into the consistency we need. It generally does not. I'm just going to add little dots, and there's slight lines curve again, like a C-shaped line will indicate that roundness. I see a little bit at the tip of this one and over here and over here, and just that tiny bit of reflection adds a sense of realism to your painting. And there's even a tiny bit here, almost a line coming across it. Okay, once we've done that, that completes all that I'm going to document for the Granddaddy Longlegs. You can of course add your notes now and any other details that you observed. But thank you for painting along with me today, and we'll see you next time.